Trump is not an ideologue, he's an opportunist. But the one area where he does seem that he's quite concentrated on is this America first, its economic nationalism, its protectionism, and that's going to have big implications. But also from his domestic policy, you have to remember that Trump has the White House, he has the executive power, the Republicans have control of both houses. As a side point, they'll have the Supreme Court as well. No Republican has had this much power since Eisenhower in 1952. Now, what policies are they going to introduce? Big investments in infrastructure, cutting taxes for the richest people. And the expectation is that that's going to drive inflation, and therefore Janet Yellen and her colleagues need to get ahead of that, and the pace at which the Fed rate hikes take place will be much faster, and therefore this drives demand for the dollar, of course. We've already seen the dollar rise around 5% since Trump came to power, or since Trump won the election. So this, from an American economy perspective, it may sound like America being made great again, but the reality is that this actually feeds back in a negative feedback into the economy, will hurt manufacturing jobs. But for us in the Middle East, and overseeing the Middle East and Africa, particularly the GCC, where many of the currencies are pegged to the dollar with the exception of Kuwait, you have a bull run in the dollar, which has big implications for diversification strategies, has big implications for tourism, as the euro, the ruble, the yuan all weaken vis-a-vis the dollar. So this can then spill over into some of our B2C members in retail and luxury and so on. So this is something that we really need to monitor. The vast majority of EMIR Boardroom members are big global multinational companies. When you look at what's happening with Trump, I suppose the big risk, or the overarching risk next year, is this rising tide in populism. If Brexit acted as a tailwind for Trump, will Trump act as a tailwind for what's happening in Europe next year? Look, we've got elections in Italy in December, you've got France in May of next year, you have Germany next year, you have Holland next year. So we have a lot of populist candidates, and it doesn't take a great deal of quantitative insight to figure out that anti-trade sentiment is not good for multinationals when the success of their businesses is based on the free flowing of products and services over borders. You tie that into the global economy as well, where we already have very weak global growth, 2016 about 3.1%, and the expectation pre-Trump was for around 3.4% next year in terms of global growth. If you look at global trade, it's at a miserly 1.7% for 2016. So the outlook for multinational companies, and indeed the big family conglomerates that are our clients, is quite murky, and it's difficult when you're looking at doing your action plans for 2017 to try and read what's going to happen in the global environment.